Hey there, so I'm going to make some Geera pork today. So I'm going to show you my ingredients. The first thing I'm going to show you is my herbs. This is about 8 scallions that I chopped up. That is about 7 pimento peppers that I minced up. That's about 6 fresh thyme sticks. Some of the sticks I took out, but there are some, but then I also just took some leaves by themselves. So that's what that's got going on. And then this is some Shado Beni or culantro, depending on where you come from. I minced it up. Almost a whole 1 bunch for sure. I still have some left. Then I have about 12 pounds of pork that was cut up for stew. I went to my local Caribbean supermarket and they had it there. It's costing me about 20 bucks US. I cleaned it. I pulled off all the skin. As you can see, I didn't leave any skin. I did leave a good amount of fat to help it cook and also to give it some moistness. But at the end of the cooking process, this particular dish, you won't have a lot of liquid left. But the fat content is very delicious. Now, as far as how it becomes Geera, is this right here. And Geera is just we call it cumin over here. We use it like in chili and stuff like that, but in the Caribbean, they use it to make different things, obviously. So we have our Geera powder. Now this is roasted Geera. It's not just off the vine, the herb itself, just crushed up, still green or whatever. It's roasted. That gives it a different flavor. So we're going to use this. We're going to use a little bit of this Garam Masala. That'll give it a little more oomph as far as flavoring is concerned. And before we add the meat to the pot, we're going to roast some of these seeds first before we add the meat. And then I also have my garlic, my minced garlic. You can always use fresh. I didn't have any fresh on hand, so this is what I'm using today. And then this is like 2 onions that I chopped up. And then of course the last little bit of my pepper sauce, which is really flicking hot. Very hot, like use with caution hot. This recipe calls for Scotch Bonnet, but I figured I would improvise because I have this. That will do very well. So there you have it right here. And we're going to add a few of these things to the meat so it can marinate. So let's do that now. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add our herbs to this so it can marinate. This is really hard without a tripod. So I'm just gonna throw all these in here and I'll get the little stragglers off of here real quick. Put that in there. We don't waste nothing around here. Nothing. This stuff already smells divine. So I'm gonna mix this around first because the next thing we're gonna put in here is our Geera, but I wanna make sure all these herbs are scattered around enough evenly. I might even put some green seasoning in here, just a little bit. I know a lot of the elements that I have in here already come in a green seasoning, but I like flavor. So yeah, I think I'm gonna add green seasoning, but just depends on what floats your boat, I guess. Now as far as these pimento peppers, which look like this, where they at? Right there. I left the seeds and everything. I just cut off the top, the root or whatever you want to call it. So it's the whole pepper, no seeds taken or nothing. I also left a couple of bones in here. just to add a little flavor, but Nobody's gonna eat them, obviously, but usually, if you know about cooking a little bit, you know that always the bone in is always better than the boneless. So it always adds, to me, just more flavor because of the marrow and stuff like that in it. So, all right, so let me put in the Geera. Let me rinse my hand off real quick. Take a look at it. You know what? I'm gonna put the green seasoning first. Yeah, so let's do that first. All right, so we added some green seasoning. It's obviously, the green seasoning is always better when it's freshly made. But because we're lazy, we bought some of this. I don't really care for this one because it has added cornstarch to thicken it up. But you know, if you make it fresh, you don't have to use that. But they do that to stretch it in the store to put more bottles out or whatever. But anyway, so we are going to mix this around a little bit. Let me see if I can hold this stupid camera. I really need to get a tripod, y'all. All right, so we're gonna mix this around. Some more. This thing already smells good, child. All right, so next we're gonna put our Geera. Okay, y'all, I'm feeling like I need to add something else to this. So I add a little bit of this. It's just some basic meat seasoning. You don't have to do this, but I felt something in me is like, add some more seasoning. I like over-seasoned food. I'd rather have over-seasoned, not salty, but over-seasoned food to have super flavor than some bland behind stuff. All right, so like I said, we're going to add the Geera. So let's do that now. Now, you're supposed to do like 1 tablespoon per pound of meat if you really want to measure. But we don't really measure around here. So we're just gonna eyeball this. See, I still have a whole bunch left. So we're going to move this around and see how it looks. And if it don't look like it's got enough, I'm gonna put some more. Yeah, we need more. More Geera. I know you're probably like, I hope she's washing her hands. Yes, child. I keeps the soap by my sink. Yeah, more Geera. Hold on a second. I literally just put the rest of the Geera that I had, the ground one. There's none left, but it was half a bag. So that should be plenty. Now we're gonna put our Garam Masala. Not as much as the Geera, because I don't wanna throw off the flavor. But this is also something good to add to your curry when you make curry. That's all I'm gonna add. That's like 1/3 of the bag because there's so much pork in here. It's a lot of meat in here. So we're gonna spin that around and then we're gonna come back and take a look. All right, so this is what it looks like right now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna let it marinate for at least 2 hours. At least 2 hours. Overnight would be best, but because we press for time, we're gonna do 2 hours. So here we go with that. It looks so pretty. I can't wait. Oof, I can't wait. This thing's gonna look so good when it's cooked. Yup. So stay tuned. All right, it's been probably 2.5 hours, and I had to move my Geera into this bowl. I have some chicken wings over here I'm making as well. We're gonna talk about that another day. But it's just chilling here. I have this pot, the same pot I seasoned it in. I left all the seasoning in it. And because I said we don't waste nothing up in here. So what I'm doing is I'm waiting for this oil to get hot. And what we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up sauteing these onions, this garlic, and these Geera seeds together first to get this pot going. So we're going to wait for it to get heated up, and then we'll be back to add all the other things. Yeah. One thing that I wanted to point out is that this is a lot of oil, and it's only because there's a lot of pork that I have to cook. So it's quite a bit of all that. Trying to get the seasoning off the side of this pan. It's not working, keeps going around in a flicking circle. But we're not gonna worry about that, okay? So what I'm trying to get at is you don't have to use as much oil. If you're using less meat, obviously you'll take down your oil amount that you'll use. Also, I wanted to point out that it's not just limited to pork. You could also do beef. You could also do chicken for Geera. So don't think that if you don't eat pork, you cannot do this recipe. You can. It just depends on what you like. So now we're gonna put this in here. Gonna roast these a nice amount. We're also going to put our onion. And also our garlic. I'm putting this whole thing of garlic in here because I like me some garlic. And besides the last of it, I'm going to go ahead and use it. Don't waste nothing up in here. Boom, bang, come out. All right. Sounds like I'm ringing the dinner bell. The dinner bell, right? All right. So we're just gonna let this saute. I got my burner on high, and we're gonna let this do its thing for a few minutes. And we'll come back to it in a second when it starts to really saute. All right, so I added a little bit more Geera seeds, and I added a tiny bit of the Garam Masala, and it smells flickin'. Oh my God, I can't even explain the aroma that's going on right now. I cannot. So, without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and put our pork in little by little. Not little by little, but by handful by handful. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Like, I don't want to just dump the whole bowl in there, but I don't really like that. So we're just gonna do this. Oh my God, it smells so good. OMG, this reminds me of the Savannah in Trinidad. It smells so good. Oh. Now this pot is going to get a little cool because this meat is not warm. It's actually still pretty cold. Like, not in the freezer because I didn't marinate it in the refrigerator. I left it in the pot on the stove. So it's still cold. You know, it's still good. Oh my God. Sorry y'all, I'm a real foodie. And this right here, this is the type of stuff I live for. I cannot wait for my friends to eat this tonight at this birthday party I'm making it for. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I'm so excited for them. It's funny how you be excited for other people to eat. You're not the one eating, other people are eating. I don't know if you've ever had that experience, but it's like a real, I love it. I really do. All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're going to allow this to simmer real quick. Give it a couple minutes and I'm gonna stir it up. And then we're gonna just let it cook. Eventually, we're gonna let the majority of the liquid burn off once the pork is super tender. But we got a little ways to go on that. So yeah. Oh, one last thing. I forgot the pepper sauce. I didn't forget it. I'm just putting it for now. Yeah. You want spice? I got you. Right there. That's all you do, boo-boo. Right there. Go on and get it. Go on and get it. Notice how there's just enough liquid in there so it doesn't burn. Now, mind you, I haven't put any water, anything. That's literally natural juices and probably some of the fat that I left on the meat. That's making all that right there. So if the water, if the moisture gets a little low, we're gonna add a little bit of water, but not too much, because as I said earlier, this particular dish, it has to boil down to be almost dry in the pan, but the meat is still tender and juicy. It's weird, I know, for some of us to think of it like that, but that's how it is. This is not a gravy situation like curry goat or curry chicken. It's not a gravy situation. This is literally right here. You have barely any liquid in the pan, but the meat is still nice and moist and tender. You'll see. So basically this is done. See how dry the pan is? There's barely any liquid in here. Anything. It's just basically just skimming down. It's tender, but I want it to be like you put your fork in it and it's tender as fuck. Sorry, as hell. So I honestly think I would cut it a little bit smaller next time, but this is actually a good size. Not bad. And this is what it actually looks like on a plate. People normally don't eat this with anything. It's just, they call it a cutter. So if you're drunk, you're trying to sober up, this is something you would eat. Geera pork. So yeah. As I mentioned earlier, you can do it with chicken, you can do it with beef. Chicken does not take half as long to make. And the point of this dish obviously is to taste the Geera and also be super spicy. So yeah, there it is.